वनचारी यमुना तीर वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीचन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीचन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन प्रजजन रंजन यशोदानंदन प्रजजन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्री प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्री प्रभुपदा एवं विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रत्यष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमती श्री भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन संस्थापक श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रत्यष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद लखोर किशोरदास महाराज की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद सच्चिदानंद श्री भक्ति ठाकुर की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास महाराज की जय। जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। नमाचार्य दास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से को श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत दाता श्री साध गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गोवर्धन की जय। श्री गौरांगी बेंगलोरेश्वर भगवान की जय। श्री मायापुर धाम की जय। श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। गंगामाई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद भागवतम की जय। इस्कॉन वर्तमान गोविंद की जय। समाज भक्त गौरव प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द assembly, all glories to the assembly, all glories to the assembly, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वती व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। अष्टप्रायेष्वपत्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेव्या भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Hare Krishna. Welcome you all to the Friday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 6, text 49 to text 52. We'll read text 49. Bhavam stupam saha paramasya mayaya durantaya sprishta madhi samastadru taya hatatmas anukarma chetas anugraham kartum ida rhasi prabho. Bhavam stupam saha paramasya mayaya durantaya sprishta madhi samastadru taya hatatmas anukarma chetas अनुग्रहं कर्तुम इदार्हसि प्रभो. वापां स्तुपं सह परमस्य मायया दुरन्तया स्पृष्टं मतिः समस्तत्र तया हतात्मस् अनुकर्म चेतस् अनुग्रहं कर्तुम इदार्हसि प्रभो. Translation Srila Prabhupada Vijay. My dear Lord, you are never bewildered by the formidable influence of the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you are omniscient and should be merciful and compassionate toward those who are bewildered by the same illusory energy and are very much attached to fruitive activities. The Vaishnava is never bewildered by the influence of the external energy because he is engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The Lord states in Bhagavad Gita 7:14, Daivi esha gunamai mama maya tvaratyaya mame vaye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. My divine energy, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. A Vaishnava should take care of those who are bewildered by this Maya instead of becoming angry with them, because without a Vaishnava's mercy, they have no way to get out of the clutches of Maya. Those who have been condemned by Maya are rescued by the mercy of the devotees. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripasindubhyasya patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. We are just like desert trees who can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Those who are under the influence of the illusory energy are attracted to fruitive activities, but a Vaishnava preacher attracts their hearts to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Text 50. Kur adavaras yodharanam hatasya boho tvaya samaptasya mano prajapatehe nayatra bhagam tava bhagino uttaduhu kuyajino yena mako nihiyate. Translation Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear Lord Shiva, you are a shareholder of a portion of the sacrifice, and you are the giver of the result. The bad priest did not deliver your share, and therefore you destroyed everything, and the sacrifice remains unfinished. Now you can do the needful and take your rightful share. Text 51. Jivata yajamano yam prapadyetакshini pagaha bruvos masruni rohantu pushno dantas purvavad. Text translation Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear Lord, by your mercy, the performer of the sacrifice, King Daksha, may get back his life. Bhaga may get back his eyes, Bhrugu his mustache, and Pusha his teeth. Text 52. Devanam Bhagavgatranam Ritvijam Chayudanas Tasmabihi Bhavata Nukrihitanam Ashu Manyot Anaturam. Translation Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Lord Shiva, may the demigods and the priests whose limbs have been broken by your soldiers recover from the injuries by your grace. Om Jnana Timirandis, Jnananjana Salake, Chakshur Viradhamina, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manopishta Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakatam Yam Tadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Tams Jivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamscha. Hey Krishna Karadasnito Tina Banto Jagatpate Kopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gavrankita Devantavana Ishwari Shibhanistade Anamami Haripriya Panchakalpatarubhya Shakapasni Chapatitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we see that what has happened so far is that Lord Shiva creates a furious demon in the name of Virabhadra, who goes and spoils the sacrifice, because there is a battle between, and then there's a battle between uh, Daksha and his followers and Lord Shiva's followers. Because Sati gave up her body, so Shiva's followers got upset and they attacked the followers of Daksha. So in the process, what happens is that actually Daksha's head is, actually we have not come to that, Daksha's head is cut off. And then thereafter Brahma, when he sees that Daksha has been defeated, he goes with all the demigods and prays to Lord Shiva. So in this prayer today, Brahma is praying to Lord Shiva, my dear Lord, you are never bewildered by the formidable influence of the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you are omniscient and should be merciful and compassionate toward those who are bewildered by the same illusory energy and are very much attached to fruitive activities. So a couple of things, important points. One is that here Brahma addresses Lord Shiva as one who has overcome the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord. Then he says the Lord is also omniscient. Omniscient means he knows everything. He knows what is right and what is wrong also. He also addresses the Lord Shiva as we request him to be very merciful. Shiva was a great devotee of the Lord and not bewildered by external factors like lust, anger, greed, envy, etc. So Lord Shiva, in fact, created this demon Virabhadra out of his attitude to be merciful to Daksha by means of correcting Daksha. I mean, it was not due to anger, due to Shiva's anger that he created the demon, but he wanted to correct Daksha because Daksha was actually one who was attached to his material body and opulence. Generally, what happens is that we become angry when we have a desire, and when that desire is not satisfied. It is that Lord himself says in Bhagavad Gita, when lust is not get conquered, then one becomes angry, and then with bewilderment with anger, one's memory is bewildered and he tends to fall down. In fact, anger is one of the causes for all the living entities to fall down. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 16:21 and 22, there are three gates leading to hell, that is lust, anger, and greed. So any sane man should give up these, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. The man who has escaped these three gates of hell, O son of Kunti, performs acts conducive to self-realization and thus gradually attains the supreme destination. So one should try to avoid these anarthas, or lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, and illusion. So devotees also use everything in the service of the Lord. So anger also can be used if it is required, and if it is in the service of the Lord that is pleasing to the Lord. We look at some of the examples. For example, Hanuman used his anger to set Lanka on fire. So that was a perfect anger because he did this as a service to Lord Rama. Srila Prabhupada himself quoted that many times anger is also required to bring a certain level of discipline. Once when he was in USA or in Delhi, it said that during the early days, there was a very huge gathering when Srila Prabhupada was addressing a crowd on the process of self-realization. So one hippie, he got up and then he asked, Kali Yuga has not even started and we don't know what is the self and all those things. He started discussing with Srila Prabhupada amongst the crowd. And then in the process, a lot of discussion took place. And then this hippie actually did not know anything, but he was arguing for the sake of arguing. So Srila Prabhupada asked him to sit down and listen to it first. But on the other hand, he was actually just going on speaking. So each one was shouting at each other. And then ultimately when Mataji got up and one woman got angry and she said that Swamiji cannot get angry. So one disciple of Srila Prabhupada said that Srila Prabhupada can get angry, and he does that to chastise and bring a situation under control. And so this is how anger can also be used sometimes in the service of Krishna. Another time when he was giving a class, a Mayavadi stood up and started putting so many questions, and I was not willing to hear. So Srila Prabhupada had to use his anger by putting questions. And Srila Prabhupada told him that first you sit down, and he told him in a very grave mood. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada also used to chastise the devotees for not trying to understand and practice Krishna consciousness as per standards. So disciples of Srila Prabhupada actually analyzed Srila Prabhupada's anger and classified it in three ways. They said when he is not very angry, he would chastise by strong, blunt words. That means when he's not very, very angry, then he used to chastise by using very strong words. Then he was a little more angry, he would pass very sarcastic remarks. But all these for the correction of the devotee. And actually, when he's really angry, they said that he would never speak. He would not speak, but his eyes would be dilated with a red color, and he would be silent, and he would look very serious and grave, to the extent that nobody would dare to speak to Srila Prabhupada or go near him. So this way, anger can also be used in the service of Krishna. Now, here in this sloka, we see that Brahma is pleading with Shiva to exhibit his compassionate nature to Daksha. So a devotee said that it is said that one should be compassionate to those who are bewildered by the illusory energy of the Lord. Daksha was very much a materialist, and he was bewildered by the material energy of the Lord, and he was very much attached to fruitive activities. Whereas a Vaishnava is never bewildered by the influence of the external energy of the Lord, because he is always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada quotes in this purport about a very famous sloka from Bhagavad Gita, Daivi Esha Gunvai Mama Maya Duratya Mameve Prapadyanti Mayam Etam Tarantite. The translation is, my divine energy consisting of the three modes of material nature is very difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So actually in the case of the Lord's anger and pleasure are the same, because the Lord is absolute. There is no difference. The Lord also gets angry, but it is not like our anger. Our anger is generally caused due to lust. If lust is not satisfied, anger arises. And if lust is satisfied, then envy and greed arises. This is how the material world is. But Lord's anger is not like our anger. Lord's anger personified is none other than Narasimhadeva. So when Narasimhadeva was angry, no one, including Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva, could go to near to the Lord. We see that in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then the demigods even requested Lakshmiji to go near him and calm him down. But she was also afraid to go near the Lord, because she had not seen such a fearful form of the Lord before. Then Brahma approached Prahlad Maharaj to go near the Lord, and Prahlad Maharaj was fearless. So he went and offered obeisance to the Lord, and immediately the Lord picked him up and the Lord placed him on his lap and placed his lotus hand on the head of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj then offered prayers to the Lord, and one of the prayer, he glorifies the Lord. I've not taken the prayer, but there's a mention in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that the Lord sometimes get angry to Lord Shiva also. And when Shiva at the end of the millennium, when the time is due for annihilation, Lord Shiva becomes so angry, and that he does what is called a Tandava Nrityam, and that is an indication that the world is due for annihilation. Srila Prabhupada also quoted that if the devotee practices Krishna consciousness sincerely, they can easily give up their anger, and they can also love each other, to which Srila Prabhupada said, there is nothing wrong in anger. In fact, Krishna incited anger in Arjuna, otherwise Arjuna would not have fought. So anger is sometimes required, but the goal should be to please Krishna. There is a very nice example in the Srimad Bhagavatam 4th canto. Dhruva Maharaj, as you all know, his younger brother Uttama, actually he was not yet married, and he went on an hunting expedition, and at that time he was killed by one powerful yaksha in the Himalaya mountains. So when Dhruva Maharaj heard about the killing of his brother, he got furious and overwhelmed with lamentation and anger. He got onto his chariot and went out for defeating the Yakshas. Yakshas were huge in numbers. He blew his conch shell, and the way he blew his conch shell, the wives of the Yakshas became very much frightened. They were all very anxious as to what was going to happen. Dhruva Maharaj was also a great charioteer and a great bowman also. And he went there to the place called Alkapuri. And then he started sending arrows, three arrows at a time, just like serpents who cannot tolerate being trampled by anyone's feet. So the Yakshas, being intolerant of the powerful prowess of Dhruva Maharaj, they threw twice as much of arrows as Dhruva Maharaj. And each soldier would pick up about 6 arrows at a time and then throw. So this way, the battle between Dhruva Maharaj and the Yakshas grew very, very violently. It is said that the numbers of the Yakshas were about 130,000, and all of them were angry. And all were wanting to defeat Dhruva Maharaj somehow or the other. So as the battle was going on, Dhruva Maharaj also started using all powerful weapons, shattering all the different weapons of the Yakshas. So he killed many Yakshas at a time, and the remaining Yakshas who were not killed by Dhruva Maharaj, they started running around in different directions. So Dhruva Maharaj also was very, very angry, and at that time he was vomiting forth fire and coming to devour these Yakshas. It looked like the time of dissolution was nearby because the battle was so severe. And that is the time when Swayambhuva Manu, before that, Guru Maharaj used something called Narayanastra, which was a very powerful this thing. He created this because the Yakshas were very, very, more or less like magicians. And they used to create a lot of tricks, and they vanquished all of a sudden and disappeared. So Dhruva Maharaj used this Narayanastra to relieve that illusion which they all created. So the battle was very, very severe. When Swayambhuva Manu, his grandfather, he saw that it was going very severe. He came and he approached Dhruva Maharaj. He came with a lot of great sages, and he asked Dhruva Maharaj that one Yaksha killed your brother, but why are you killing so many Yakshas who are not actually offenders? So out of his great compassion, he approached Dhruva Maharaj to give up this battle. He said, "My dear son, please stop. It is not good to become unnecessarily angry. It is path to the hellish life. Now you are going beyond your limit by killing Yakshas who are not offenders. My dear son, the killing of the sinless Yaksha which you have undertaken is not at all approved by authorities, and it does not befit our family, which is supposed to know the laws of religion and irreligion." So this way, Swayambhuva Manu pacified Dhruva Maharaja, and the great battle came to an end. The point is that one cannot utilize, being a Kshatriya, even anger when it is not required. So here, actually, Daksha's head was cut off. And later it is said that Daksha got a goat's head. And actually, the first person whom Daksha saw was none other than Lord Shiva. And Daksha realized that the punishment that was given to him by Shiva was Shiva's mercy for the sake of correction. So Vaishnavas undertake this service of correcting others as a service to the Supreme Lord. So there are some definitions in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is said that when a Vaishnava meets someone who is more qualified, he should be very pleased instead of being envious of him. Generally, what happens is that when we see somebody who is more advanced, we become envious. It is said that one should be very pleased seeing a Vaishnava, and generally we meet even a senior, we tend to become envious, but it is only due to the envy we have come to this material world. In devotional service, seniority of the devotees cannot be based on the number of years of being in the moment, which many people think and behave accordingly. And they expect that I'm a very senior person, others should respect me, and all those things. In fact, devotional service is such that one should not expect respect from others also, but one should offer respect to every others. But the number of years in the moment is not a determining factor for one to be a very senior devotee or serious devotee of the Lord. All these things come out of maturity in devotional service. Someone may be very knowledgeable, even they may be young in age, but they may be great preachers. Some may be good kirtaniyas, some may be senior in ashrama. What we should see that is that whether they are respecting the values in our parampara and are respecting the teachings of Srila Prabhupada and the values of the society. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is an example of how Pundarika Vidyanidhi was a great devotee of the Lord. And but unfortunately, he used to wear very opulent dresses and eat betel and leaf and all those things. So Gadadhara Pandita, once seeing him, thought, how can a Vaishnava be dressed like this with a lot of opulence and eat betel and all those things? So he had a doubt in his mind about this Pundarika Vidyanidhi. Then it is said that Vakreshwara Pandita or somebody came and who was also a great singer and a dancer. And when he started to sing, Pundarika Vidyanidhi actually became so ecstatic that his dancing itself was so ecstatic. The Gadadhara Pandita, whatever misconception he had about Pundarika Vidyanidhi all went off, and he understood that Pundarika Vidyanidhi was not a normal personality, but was a great devotee of the Lord. So envy is one reason for many to stagnate in the Krishna conscious movement. It is said that one should not be envious, and as long as one is envious, one cannot think of others' happiness. One should always try to understand whether they are free from lust and envy, and these are two detrimental principles for one's progress in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada quoted that if we are progressing in devotional service, we should appreciate the service of the devotees of the Lord, irrespective of whether they are senior or junior or contemporaneans. Generally, what happens is that most of us come from a material background. So we tend to relate everything to our experience, what we see in the outside world. But in devotional service, it's a totally different aspect. It is said that when one meets someone equal to himself, when one meets someone who is very senior, one should offer all respects and be humble in his dealings. When he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him instead of becoming proud of one's activities. So there is a general tendency amongst devotees to exhibit one's own achievements, and that is a sort of an exhibition of our pride. And we try to exhibit our knowledge and skills, etc. But whatever we achieve in Krishna consciousness, we must understand it is not due to our capacity, but it is a mercy of Lord Krishna and the parampara that is coming in our sampradaya. So it is up to, Srila Prabhupada says, it's up to us to put our heads together and see that all of us progress spiritually, not that I am greater than the other one. So when someone meets someone equal, you should be dealing in a friendship manner. And when he meets someone less qualified than himself, then he should be compassionate towards him in the initial stages, at least to come to a conclusion. There might be many who are demigod worshippers or Sai Baba devotees, or many may be an atheist, but we must understand that we have also come through the same ladder. Sometimes in the past of in our life, previously before coming to the moment, we might also be atheists, or we might not be knowing the truth, and we might be worshipping some demigod or so forth. But by the costless mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we have got to understand what is Bhagavad Gita, who is God, etc. So looking at our own past, we should exhibit our compassion to those who are less qualified than ourselves. Srila Prabhupada also quoted that if one is preaching, he should preach to anybody, and he should try to take the dust of that person, because he knew that they were killing in the name of religion. There were also all are great souls. In fact, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur always used to quote that one should be compassionate to even insignificant living entities like the animals, birds, etc. In general, always it is said that one should be compassionate for the people in general who are suffering due to forgetfulness of Krishna. And he said, of course, we all know that Srila Prabhupada, when he went to USA in his 70s, he had just about $7. And he exhibited his compassion to low class. The hippies were supposed to be very low class compared to the normal human beings. They never used to take bath for months. They used to be very dirty. But Srila Prabhupada, out of his compassion, preached to them and converted them to great devotees of the Lord. Today, they are all great preachers in our movement, spreading Srila Prabhupada's mission. And it is said that they, initially when they joined the movement, Srila Prabhupada also didn't have any money, and they used to stay in a very small place, all of them. But somehow Srila Prabhupada induced them by cooking gulab jamun for them, and they used to come and ask for it and take it. And early days, they used to sell a few copies of Back to Godhead magazines. And to have their next prasadam, they would wait for some magazines to be sold so that they can afford the next prasadam. That's how financially they were all there. So the point is that Srila Prabhupada exhibited his compassion to even such low-class beings like the hippies. So he says that one should treat all, whether rich or poor, on the same lines. Normally, when we see a rich person, we tend to respect him a lot. And when we see somebody poor, we tend to ignore. But we should try and see that everybody gets the same respect and reverence in our movement. So Prabhupada also quotes that we must develop loving relations with everyone. We cannot relate with Krishna, but what we can do is we can relate with Krishna's devotees, and Krishna is watching as to how we deal with each one of us. And all relationships also have an origin in Krishna. And so Krishna puts us into various situations under difficult circumstances so that we may be cleared of the anarthas that we have in ourselves. We all have anarthas, but sometimes if we have to progress in devotion service, we have to become free of these anarthas. So Krishna also puts us in difficult situations and circumstances so that we are able to correct our relationship with the devotees of the Lord. And when our relationship with the devotees deepens, our relationship with Krishna also deepens. There is a quote in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where in the Nectar of Instruction, where Rupa Goswami says, one should mentally honor the devotees who chant the holy name of the Lord. I mean, anyone who is chanting of the holy name of the Lord, one should mentally honor that devotee. One should offer humble obeisance to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, that is Diksha. That means if we see a devotee who is undertaken initiation or gone through the process of Diksha, one should offer humble obeisances. And one who is similarly to one who is engaged in worshipping the deity, one should offer obeisances. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. I'll read the last line again. One should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service. That means one should try to serve a pure devotee of the Lord who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. We generally have a lot of propensity to criticize others. We should try to avoid that, because that is it's a big stumbling block in the progress of our devotional service. In this particular sloka, when we see here, when Brahma is addressing Shiva, it is mentioned that a Vaishnava is considered to be a pure devotee. Shiva, being a Vaishnava, is considered to be a pure devotee of the Lord who has surrendered to the Supreme Lord. So a Vaishnava is one who is not bewildered by this external energy called Maya. So instead of becoming angry with the other souls like Daksha, Brahma is pleading with Shiva that he, being a pure devotee of the Lord, he should take care of those who are bewildered. That means Daksha is bewildered by Maya. So he is pleading that Lord Shiva should be merciful and compassionate to Daksha. Because without a Vaishnava's mercy, they have no way to get out of the clutches of Maya. So Maya is very, very powerful, and it is not easy for anyone to overcome. So Brahma is pleading with Lord Shiva. So here, a Vaishnava is meant to be a pure devotee of the Lord. Now, sometimes many tend to think that they have become a Vaishnava. So I'll give some quotes to understand who is a Vaishnava. So where this Vaishnava quote stands in reference to today's sloka. So there are three classes of devotees of the Lord: Kanishtadikari, or the third class devotee; Madhyamadikari, or the second class devotee; and Uttamadikari, who is a top class, the first class devotee. So there is a conversation between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotee called Satyaraja Khan, which is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to come to Puri every time for a Rath Yatra. So once when he came, Satyaraja Khan asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is a Vaishnava, or what is his quality? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, he who chants the name of the Lord is a Vaishnava. And then Mahaprabhu left. The next year again, Mahaprabhu came for the Rath Yatra, and the same Satyaraja Khan asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is a Vaishnava. At that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, anyone who constantly chants the holy name of the Lord is a Vaishnava. After that, Mahaprabhu left. And the third time, Mahaprabhu came for the Rath Yatra. And this time, Satyaraja Khan asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is a Vaishnava. This time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied that he who by his chanting the holy name induces others to chant the holy name is called a Vaishnava. That means one who is a first class devotee is one who by his chanting the holy name induces others to chant. One who is constantly chanting the holy name, the second class devotee or Madhyamadikari. We don't literally relate to first class, second class, third class like we use in material terms, but it is to understand that gradations of the devotees. And anyone who chants is also a Vaishnava, who is a Kanishtadikari. There is another point, that is that a Kanishtadikari is also one who is influenced by the three modes of material nature, and is known as a Prakrita Bhakta. Whereas a pure Vaishnava is one who is free from the three modes of material nature, and is an Aprakrita Bhakta. He is on the same platform of the Supreme Lord as Satchidananda. So just by wearing a Kantimala and Tilaka, one does not just become a Vaishnava, but then one goes through the process, long process, and gradually progresses to become an Uttamadikari. There is also a conversation between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Raya in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, how can all the living entities who are suffering in this age of Kali be delivered? To which Ramananda replied, he replied by observing the Varnashrama system. Mahaprabhu has said, yes, it's very nice. Please go further and further and further and further. Finally, Ramananda replied, by obeying the orders of Vaishnavas, one can be purified and can go further. So one might meet other senior Vaishnavas and they might give instructions. So by obeying the order of such and the instructions of such senior Vaishnavas, one can become purified and can go further, progress in their devotional path. There is also a mention that a Vaishnava is compared to a sun. Sun purifies even the dirtiest places, which are contaminated by urine, stool, etc. But the sun does not get contaminated. So similarly, Vaishnavas who are on the top class, they may associate with so many low class people but they don't get contaminated. Rather, by association, they purify the others, because in their heart, the Lord is always manifest, because they always keep the Lord in their heart. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in fact, quoted that anyone who has taken birth in this Bharat movie should preach the mission of Krishna consciousness. That means everyone should preach to the extent that we know. It does not mean that one who preaches has become an Uttamadhikari. No, everyone knows something, but out of compassionate nature, one should preach this Krishna consciousness to others, and gradually they become purified, and also they progress. At the same time, they exhibit their compassion to the other living entities. And everyone is, of course, attracted by the energy called Maya. Everyone is bewildered by Maya, potency of the Lord. So somebody has to exhibit their compassion, who are the Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada actually quotes in this purport a very important verse which we all have heard. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyavcha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namaha. The translation is, I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. That means one should offer respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Then it says that they are just like desire trees who can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. So Vaishnava is one who has compassion for all the fallen conditioned souls, and such Vaishnavas are called desire trees. But those who are under the influence of the illusory energy, they cannot be treated. They can be as a Vaishnava, but they are not in the top class devotees. One who is unable to hear another person distress is called compassionate. I mean, a real Vaishnava is called Paradukha Dukhi. He sees another who is suffering, another living entity or human being suffering, and it becomes compassionate to others. That's why Vaishnava is called Paradukha Dukhi. He becomes distress, seeing other person's distress. And when a Vaishnava exhibits such compassion, the Lord also becomes pleased. That's why Krishna is also called Audharya Purushottam. Audharya Purushottam means a devotee exhibits his compassionate nature. And being all living entities being part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, all the living beings also have this compassionate nature. So there is no doubt that Vaishnava should not have this. There's a quote in Narada Pancharatra, which says that the devotees of Vasudeva never face any inauspiciousness. And simply by remembering the exalted devotees of Vasudeva, one is relieved from the fear of birth, death, old age, and disease. So devotees generally don't face any inauspiciousness, but the Lord sometimes put devotees also in trouble. And examples are given like Jesus Christ, Sri Haridas Thakura, etc. So we see also many times when we are in the festivals, we start the function with the reciting what is called the Swasti Vachana Mantra. That Swasti actually means welfare or compassion to others. So we start any festival reciting this mantra. Srila Prabhupada's quote in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that Bharat Maharaj had to accept the body of a deer because of his compassion towards a deer. So one should exhibit compassion, but at the same time, one should know to what extent, to whom. We should not exhibit compassion to such an extent that we get carried away and we become degraded to lower species of life. On the other hand, we should exhibit compassion by raising the other from one material platform to the spiritual platform. Otherwise, our spiritual advancement can anytime be spoiled. That is the powerful energy of Maya. So Srila Prabhupada also states that once material platform is already established, so one should not worry too much about his maintenance because Lord takes care of it. So one should rather try to progress in spiritual consciousness. There is also an example in Mahabharata where we see Ashwatthama actually killed all the 5 children of Draupadi when they were all sleeping. And he took these 5 heads to Duryodhana. Duryodhana himself did not approve of this act of Ashwatthama. And Duryodhana was not pleased. Draupadi, seeing this, she began to cry. And when Arjuna saw her in tears, he said, "When I present you with the head of that Brahmana, after beheading with arrows from my Gandiva bow, I shall wipe the tears from your eyes and pacify you." So Arjuna was so angry that he said, "I will bring the head of Ashwatthama to you. That is how I'll be able to wipe the tears from your eyes." Then he said, "Then you can take bath standing on his head." So immediately Arjuna stated this, and he rushed towards Ashwatthama. And Ashwatthama's horses were tired. So Ashwatthama released the Brahmastra weapon. And to counteract, Arjuna also released his Brahmastra weapon and defeated him. Then Arjuna bound him, and the Lord told him that he was the murderer, and that Arjuna should not show any mercy to Ashwatthama. He does not deserve to be shown that mercy. He should be killed for breaking the principles of religion. Actually, Krishna was trying to test Arjuna in this case and told him that he should be killed. But Arjuna did not like the idea of killing Ashwatthama. He took him to Draupadi with his hands tied and all, etc. And when she saw Ashwatthama in that pitiable condition, she showed respect to Ashwatthama and said, "Please release him, for he is a Brahmana." He is not only a Brahmana, it was by Dronacharya's mercy that you learned the art of throwing arrows and weapons, and he is still existing, represented by his son. And it is not good to cause a grief to a family who are respectful and worshipable. Let Dronacharya's wife not cry like me. So Draupadi actually did not want Dronacharya's wife to cry like that, like Draupadi herself, and she wanted Arjuna to release Ashwatthama. Yudhishthira also supported her statement, and only Bhima was very, very angry, and he did not agree with that. Then the Lord, actually, he balances everything very well. He said, "A friend of a Brahmana is not to be killed, but if he is an aggressor, he must be killed. You must act according to the scriptures as well as act to the satisfaction of Bhima and me." That means the Lord wanted that Arjuna, that he should act as per scriptures. At the same time, he should act for the satisfaction of Bhima and the Lord himself. So finally, Arjuna could understand what was the Lord's desire, and he took his sword. And Ashwatthama had a very powerful jewel in his head, which was hidden under his hair. Arjuna took that sword and removed the jewel from Ashwatthama's head. So he was killed, at the same time he was not killed. Because Ashwatthama became very, very powerful because of that jewel, Arjuna understood what Krishna meant, and he took up that jewel, and Ashwatthama became a powerless person. So this is how Ashwatthama was killed. At the same time, he was not killed. Physically, he was not killed, but he was killed in the sense that his power was removed completely. Similarly, there is a quote, Jamadagni actually to Parshurama. When Jamadagni was the father of Parshuram, Lord Parshuram, heard that he had killed Kartyavirjana, he was hesitating, and he said the most important quality of a Brahmana is forgiveness. And that quote is Srila Prabhupada, which Srila Prabhupada also quotes. He says, "A woman becomes beautified by her chastity. A Grihastha becomes beautified by charity. A Kshatriya becomes beautified by chivalry. A Vaishya by protecting cows. A Shudra by serving the other classes. And a Brahmana becomes beautified by his forgiveness, quality of forgiveness." So this is a very important point, that a Brahmana becomes beautified by his quality of forgiveness. One should forgive the others in spite of whatever harm one might have done to him before. One should not seek revenge. There is another example during Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. There was a person called Ramachandra Puri. He spread all the wrong information about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is eating too much, eating at odd times, etc. Due to which even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's own associates were very, very upset. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always respected Ramchandra Puri. And on the other hand, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered obeisance to him when he saw Ramchandra Puri. So this was a particular example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught to the society how we should be always respectful, offering obeisances, and we should always understand and be forgiving to others. And it is said that one time during Srila Prabhupada's time, some devotees left the movement and they returned after some time, realizing that after leaving, they made a mistake. So when they came back, many times Srila Prabhupada actually, in fact, embraced and was in tears and said that I always prayed to Krishna that he brings you back to Krishna consciousness. So even though they left, Srila Prabhupada accepted them back. And because Srila Prabhupada's desire was that they should go back to Godhead. And he was in fact in tears when they came back, and Srila Prabhupada embraced many of them. And one should also accept that we have also been forgiven many times in our spiritual life after coming to the movement. We might have committed so many offenses, so many sinful activities, but then we have also been forgiven by the senior devotees of the Lord. So we should always understand that and adopt that similar nature. And text number 50, Brahma says, my dear Lord Shiva, you are a shareholder of a portion of the sacrifice, and you are a giver of the result. The bad priest did not deliver your share, and therefore you destroyed everything, and the sacrifice remains unfinished. Now you can do the needful and take your rightful share. So Brahma was pleading to Lord Shiva that because he was not invited for the sacrifice was incomplete. Now he is requesting that Lord Shiva participates and complete the sacrifice and takes his rightful share. So demigods always take the part of the share of their sacrifices that they perform. Then 51 sloka, Brahma prays, my dear Lord, by your mercy, the performer of the sacrifice, Daksha, may get back his life. Bhaga may get back his eyes, Bhrugu his mustache, and Pusha his teeth. So some lost their limbs, some lost their lives, some lost their mustache, etc. So Brahma is praying that by Lord Shiva's mercy, they all get back to their original life. And the last sloka, text number 52, Brahma says, O Lord Shiva, may the demigods and the priests whose limbs have been broken by your soldiers recover from the injuries by your grace. So again, Brahma is praying to Lord Shiva that may all those who have been injured recover from their injuries by mercy of Lord Shiva. So here Lord Shiva is a very extremely compassionate devotee of the Lord. That's why he's always considered Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambho. He's as close to the Lord, though he's not the Supreme Godhead, but his position is that he's as close to the Supreme Lord. So he has all the qualities of the Lord, of the Supreme Lord Krishna. At the same time, he is not the Supreme Lord Krishna. So with this, I conclude the class for the day. Anybody has got any questions, any comments, they can ask me in the next couple of minutes.
Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam.
Thanks for the nectarian class, Prabhu. So just one clarity, just it is there in my mind.
Yes, Prabhu.
So how Parikshit Maharaj being cursed? So the Brahmana should be, qualified Brahmana should be a, so merciful for forgiveness or compassionate. So he is a Rajarishi.
Yes.
How to understand this contradiction, Prabhu?
Parikshit Maharaj did not counter curse the Brahmana who cursed him. On the other hand, he took it as an opportunity. He went to his palace and he was asked by all the sages in his palace to go and retire and hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So he did not counter curse the Brahmana who cursed him. Rather, he took it as an opportunity and showed us by example that our life goal is Krishna and not to take revenge. I don't know, is that your question? Is that the answer to your question or what? Because I didn't find the connection.
In another side, I am expecting, Prabhu. That means, how this, got cursed from a Brahmana son, or more specific. So Brahmanas should be more,
Yes,
what is it?
yes.
Forgiveness.
Now I understand.
Mercy.
Now your question is very clear.
Yes.
A Brahmana son cursed Parikshit Maharaj. How did that happen? So there is a mention that not all Brahmanas who are born as Brahmanas become qualified as Brahmanas. This particular Brahmana who cursed Parikshit Maharaj, when he went back and informed his father, and when his father realized that his son has done this, immediately his father chastised the son that you should not have cursed a responsible person like Parikshit Maharaj. He's a great devotee of the Lord. He does not deserve to be cursed, but you have cursed. And this is how his father chastised him. So not all Brahmanas have the same quality, but then even today we see that many who are born in Brahminical families, they may not be family following the Brahminical culture. They cannot call themselves to be Brahmanas. Sometimes they may get some power by being born in Brahminical families, but then if a Brahminical power is misused, a Lord also withdraws such powers. Is it clear?
Yeah, thanks, Prabhu. So, and another sharing,
Yes.
you said, so the seniority or the senior devotion, not because
Yes.
of year.
Yes.
That point I'm meditating. Thanks for that point, Prabhu. Harish.
Thank you. Thank you.
Harish. Thank you.
Anybody else? There are no questions, comments. Can I take the classes closed? Thank you all very much. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thanks, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Very nicely told about the anger and the examples you gave. It's very nice, Prabhuji. Really thought-provoking. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam.